This is Jimmy Parr for the Continuing Church of God. Let's turn to Isaiah 66:2. Supposed to get close. I wasn't supposed to get that close. All right. Can't read without my glass. Can't see with them. For all these things hath mine hand made, and all those things have been, saith the Lord. But to this man will I look, even to them that hath strong concordance and a big library. No, I don't say that. Even to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit, and trembleth at my word. So, if you get in a problem, or even if you're not in a problem, and you're just wondering what to do, you don't rely on your own knowledge, your own, like Proverbs 3:5-6 says, don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge your Creator, and He'll direct your paths. I used to try to be a mechanic, and one day somebody come in with they used to, I long for the simpler days when you just, you had points instead of 85 sensors, and, they told us that Ford's computer was something, akin to its design and all that was akin to something that NASA would use in a spaceship, which, so anyway, when we got a car in, and the low coolant sensor light was on, and at first when they had those low coolant sensor lights, it was kind of like a commode float, and when it got too low, two contacts made contact, and then the light come on. Then they got to thinking, well, that's too simple, let's make it complex. So they got this sensor that would detect current, it would send current through the coolant. And if it wasn't sending current through the coolant, that means that you're low, because you're not, the sensors aren't immersed. Well, anyway, come in and I looked in there, and the coolant level was full. So I thought, well, this switch must be goofed up. So I went and got another switch. It was a dealership. So we had the parts right there most of the time. And so anyway, I put the new sensor in there, and the light stayed on. And I don't know, I can't take credit for this, but out of the blue, a high school chemistry lesson hit me. And I said, this thing, the coolant looked real green. And when I first saw it, I thought, well, this is pretty thick. It's at least 50%, probably more. Anyway, when that coolant light that warning light stayed on, I thought, antifreeze is kind of related to alcohol. It's non-polar salt. It's non-polar, it doesn't have ions floating around it. And that electricity is dependent on ions being in the solution to be able to conduct. That's like you take a glass of distilled water and you put a wire in and put another wire in the cup, and then have a light bulb, and then hook it all to a battery or a cell, and the light doesn't come on because distilled water doesn't have enough conductivity. Then you start pouring salt in it, and then the light slowly comes on, because it provides the salt provides the ions, depending on what kind of salt it is. And anyway, all that mess went through my head, and I said, so his problem is his antifreeze is too rich. It doesn't have enough water in it. So I don't know if you know about this. You go to the store and you get antifreeze, they'll sell you a full strength, and they'll tell you to dilute it to 50-50. And you can also buy it pre-diluted. And anyway, the guy just had, my theory was he had too much antifreeze and not enough water. It was over 70%. So I scrounged up a tin can, called coffee can, just filled it with water, and I hooked up the old switch and turned the key on and stuck the contacts of that switch in that water in that can, and the light went out. I said, how about that? So I poured about a pint of water. I didn't want to dilute his antifreeze too much, but I wanted to make sure he had enough ions to be able to make the contact. Poured some water in there, and his light went off, just like it should. And so I go in, and I had already had some run-ins with service riders because I didn't sell enough stuff. I just tried to fix things. That's what I really thought I was doing there, was trying to fix things. I didn't know that I was trying to sell half the parts in the parts room. But anyway, he said, you put a new switch on it? I said, no, and I told him, tried to explain to him what I'd found. Oh, he's throwing his hands up in there. Just replace the switch. And things like that told me I'm not in the right business. I better find a janitor job or something. And anyway, let's turn to John 7:24. Jesus said, I'll start 23. If a man on the Sabbath day receives circumcision, that the law of Moses should not be broken, are you angry with me that I made a man every whit whole on the Sabbath day? And he's going to make in that seventh day that's just about to start, he's going to start making everything whole on that Sabbath day. Because I made every man every whit whole on the Sabbath day, judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Now, I'm going off my memory, but I think that word judgment, I could look it up because I got a cheat notes here, but 2920 is the Strong's number, so I'm really righteous because I got a Strong's. Let's see. Yeah. We get our English word crisis. And what we've done with the English word, we've kind of put a connotation of, this is a crisis, and it's, if we don't make the right decision, that wall's going to collapse over there or something. But it just means decision. It just has to do with a dividing. Is this right or is this wrong? And I continue to think that God, that day that I found out about that switch, I think God put that in my head He didn't do it to make me any money, but I learned a number of lessons from that. And anyway, so now that judge righteous judgment, of course, that word righteous is, you go to Psalm 119, 165, and it says, 172. 119, 172, all thy commandments are righteousness. So everything that, that God says to do, whether he's telling us to do it or whether he's telling, the atoms out there or whatever it is that's holding this whole thing together, they're obeying him. And so I just perhaps stumbled on, when I put that water and mixed it in with that antifreeze, I just stumbled on, making it righteous for that switch to shut off. Because obeyed some laws that were being broken because the system wanted ions that it didn't have. And so anyway, we need to learn to conform and not to be conformed to God's way, to be transformed from conforming to this world's way and be transformed into the ways of God. Whether it's, and I truly think, back to auto repair, there's going to be a whole lot of overhauling done in that field, and a whole lot. In fact, I don't know that the whole idea of an internal combustion engine. You take a fire and you burn it, and oxygen mixes with whatever carbon materials, and it's in theory carbon dioxide. It goes off in some water vapor, and if you don't have enough air, then there's some carbon monoxide and you got problems. But they say when you get an internal combustion engine, you've compressed a whole lot of air, which is 78% nitrogen. Then you ignite that under pressure. It's not just carbon dioxide that goes out the exhaust. It's nitrate. It's oxides of nitrogen. Nitrous oxide, nitric oxide, and that's what, like in Los Angeles, you look out there, and especially back in the 60s and 70s, there's a big mountain, Mount San Jacinto, I think. I think they call it Baldy, or anyway. Big mountain. On a clear day, it's right there. But on some days, you can't even see the mountain from the basin because of the oxides of nitrogen in the air. So something's going to have to be done, and to us to get righteous judgment on how we power our modes of transportation, and maybe we have to go back to simpler ways. But there's a whole lot that we need to do to get away from what it says in Hosea 4:6, that we're being destroyed for a lack of knowledge. We've got a long way to go, and God is just about to send His Son back to earth to start getting things straightened out. This is Jimmy Parr for the Continuing Church of God.